You've counted every calorie, tried every diet, spent hours in the gym, and still something's missing. You want more than just weight loss. You want your energy back. You want your confidence restored. You want a way of living that doesn't feel like punishment. Welcome to Master Your Metabolism, where we cut through the noise, ditch the fads, and give you a real plan to become the healthiest, strongest version of you. Hosted by our team of expert coaches with proven strategies, science-based tips, and real-life encouragement, not just to help you lose fat, but actually create that lifestyle that you love. You've tried everything. Now, let's try what actually works. This is your turning point. Let's go. Hey there. Welcome to Master Your Metabolism. We are here with the team. I have Amanda, Calvin, Megan, David, and Whitney. Hope everybody's doing well today, getting ready for 4th of July. So we came up with this topic from our recent group call. Something was discussed about somebody that was having a challenging time. And this is not something that was one individual. I hear this all the time, that you get started, you have a good run for a little bit, being able to eat the way you should, being able to train the way you should, and then you kind of fall off, don't have the same motivation, and it's hard kind of getting back on track. We were talking during the call about having a reason that you are doing this and understanding your why and why you are moving in this direction, whether it be health driven, to be able to be there for your kids, or whatever it happens to be is your ultimate goal. And also discussing, that you may not always feel like it, but when it is a priority and when you are in that zone that, you really want to do something, just like with work, you don't always feel like getting up and going to work. A lot of people don't really enjoy work at all. So we discussed that you still go, right? You still kind of get in the car, you still go through the things and being able to do your job even when you don't feel like it. We're going to first kind of touch on that aspect. I'm going to have Amanda talk a little bit about the why and how you get to that point that you figure out what is your reason. Because just losing a couple of pounds really isn't the thing. That's not how you kind of gauge and be able to keep going just from a number on the scale.
Yeah, I think that that's a problem that a lot of people have to begin with, because their initial why for a number of people, not everybody, is usually something that's borderline superficial. I want to lose 10 pounds. That's a very vague goal, right? What does 10 pounds actually mean? Is that going to make any difference in your life? Or is that just an arbitrary number that you came up with because you see people talking about losing 10 pounds? What's the difference between 8 pounds and 10 pounds? If you're not able to discern that, then you don't have a specific enough why. And the reason for that is your why is going to determine how you enact your priorities. And I do this with pretty much all of my clients at one point or another, which is establishing what your actual priorities are, but not just what your actual priorities are, what your ideal priorities are, because there's usually a discrepancy between the two. So I often get, let's say a woman, she's got a bunch of kids, she has a big job, she's got a husband to take care of, a house to clean, a million and one things, right? She just doesn't have enough time for herself. So I will ask her, what is your actual priority for yourself? And she'll probably say, I don't know, like 5th or 6th. And then I say, well, what is your ideal priority? If you could have a perfect world, what would you want your priority to be? And she's always like, of course, I want to be my number one priority. The thing about priorities is you determine them. So kind of like with the example that was brought up in group about, if you wake up in the morning and you feel like crap and you don't want to go to work, you probably have a thought of like, I could call out. But for most of us, on most days, we get ourselves together, we force some food down our throat, and we drive to work and we do our job. Why? Because the reason that we work is not for enjoyment. If that were the case, everybody would quit their job whenever they were feeling crappy. The reason that you work is either purpose driven. That's what gets me to work and doing my work. It could be financially driven. So, you may not want to go to work, but what happens when you can't pay your bills at the end of them? So that makes it climb that ladder of what your priorities have to be, right? But The reason that work is so easy to have as a priority is because it's external. So we are conditioned to put our own personal priorities on the back burner. And that is what societally we've been told, right? You have to give yourself to work, to school, to sports, to everything that you do, to your family, to your
Kids.
everybody, right? If you take time for yourself, a lot of times self-care is looked at as selfishness. It's looked at as laziness. There's a lot of negative connotations behind that. But if you have a established why of why you want to be doing this program, and that means enough to you to get out of your own way when you're having a difficult time, you'll stay on path. The other thing with that, though, is the all or nothing thinking, which I talk about in pretty much everything we ever do. But it really covers a lot of ground, which is caring for yourself doesn't mean at the exclusion of other things. It's in addition to. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck is they're like, well, I can't do this for myself because I have all these other things to do. Well, what if we took 5 minutes from every other thing you have to do, compiled it together, and gave you an hour to take care of yourself? We can do that. But most of us have that black and white thinking where we don't really think about it that way.
Yeah. And I know David is really good with being able to get people and really have them hone in on their why. He's done it with a lot of clients. I've seen it that he really kind of gets to the root. So David, do you have any like things that you discuss with your clients of helping them to find out what really is the picture? Because I know you started with one why,
Yeah.
which is another aspect that we'll kind of get into with this call. You started with one reason why you wanted to start coaching with us, and that kind of morphed and developed into quite the different goal and why.
Sure.
So I'm going to let you go ahead and kind of delve into that.
Sure. It's interesting. I was listening to Amanda, and a lot of people start with the superficial. It's the I want to look, or I want to do, or I want to be. But when you sit down and then ask them, well, what is that going to do for you? And ask those next level questions, dig deeper. That's when they find out what they're truly trying to do. It's I want to look a certain way because, or I want to lose weight because, or it's about the because, and it's about the what's motivating them, not the I want to compete. Well, compete is esoteric. What does that actually mean? It means commitment. It means dedication. It means all of these other things that you have to draw out of people. It's like your why for doing anything in this world. It's not just I want to lose weight, but I don't know, I want to go on vacation to Australia. Why? I want to experience X, Y, or Z. I've never been to. I want to see. I want to do. I want to experience. So it's all about getting them to strip the layers of that superficiality out so that you pull out of them the true reason for their interest in doing anything. Because once you strip out that superficiality and you connect with them at the heart of what they're actually trying to accomplish, when the going gets hard, they're actually going to accomplish it. Whether it's working with us, whether it is dealing with family situations, whether it is at work, it's really delving into the rationale behind why somebody wants to do something. To Amanda's point, is it the motivation? Is it she used another term, and I don't remember. She just says a lot of brilliant things.
A lot of big words.
A lot of big words strung together into these things called sentences. It's pretty amazing.
It is.
Um, and um, it's getting into the psychology of it, and getting people to think a little deeper versus the I want to look good naked. Well, who doesn't?
Right.
But what does that actually mean? What is that going to do for you? And it's the doing for you. I think that's really where I try to connect with people, whether it's doing this or anything else. It's connecting them to their base emotion. And that's really once you connect with that base emotion, you get somebody to think that way, then the light bulb will go off and be like, oh, now I know why I'm doing it.
And they may
Uh,
not know to begin
right,
with.
exactly. And you get that through questions. Everybody asks questions, whether it's us asking our clients questions or clients asking people in their own lives questions. But once you get to the root and the heart of the matter, yeah, they might not know today. And Brooke, to your point, when I started 5 years ago, My why was I left CrossFit and I wanted to go back to counting macros. Why? No idea.
Yep.
No idea. And then it was that I wanted to compete. Why? I don't know. And then I thought
Why?
about it, right?
Because I tricked you into that. don't don't skip holes. Put holes in the story.
Tricked me into it, and then had a bet with somebody that says he's never going to follow through. But
Technicality.
but if you think about it, so yeah, my why has changed, and I'm not competing now, and that's okay. But my why is different than wanting to compete. Now my why is I'm almost 54 years old and I want to do other things with my life. I know there's always a competition. You can always jump into a competition. There's always something there to get you back to wherever you want to be. Life throws challenges at you. Life throws opportunities at you. Your why can change depending on where you want to go, and that's okay. Why doesn't have to be stagnant. So
Yeah,
it
David,
does evolve.
your journey was really great, and it is a great example of this because I remember when you came and you just wanted to do macros, and it was the initial idea of you actually doing a competition that sparked something in you, and it kind of created a why for you, and then that evolved from just doing the competition after you actually earned your pro card in the first show, which is pretty impressive, I gotta say. But then going and changing your why to competing in the MPC at that point, and then that why went to going to nationals. So I think that's important for people to see that because whys are gonna change, and that just happens. It's a natural progression, but they should change. If they are changing, that means you're progressing. That means you're leveling up, and that's the key to having a full life. Is leveling up. It doesn't have to be in that same thing the whole time, but you learn that skill and you learn what it feels like, and you realize you can accomplish things when you stick to it, and then you bring that on into other things in your life. So it's one thing to think about that kind of puts us in a tangible place is when you see somebody running and it's like Saturday afternoon and it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it's boiling hot, and you're like, why in God's earth would they be doing that right now?
There's a bear.
But there's probably a good reason, and that reason is probably that they're training for a marathon. And so that's their why at the time. So they're getting up and they're running that short run each day. They're running that medium run in the middle of the week, and they're running that long run in the weekends. They don't care if it's raining. They don't care if it's 100 degrees out. They're doing it. And it's just a mental thing that they have in their head that's pulling them out. So that's the physical form of it, but that can be done through food as well. So it's if you got a runner and they're running just to run and say they just want to shed some pounds, they're probably not going to go outside and run when it's raining. They're probably not going to go when it's 100 degrees out. They're going to find something else, or they're going to just chill out, and that's their excuse to get out of it. But that's an example of why having a why is so important, no matter what it is. For me, it's competition because I love the challenge of that. I love that it keeps me on. And when I'm not in that time, then I can be more flexible with my food, but I'm not going to deviate when I know I got to get on stage and compete against these guys. They're monsters. And so I know that I have to be on point. And if I want to improve, I have to be better than what I was last time. So that's my why for that.
One of the things it just struck me, you also have to be truthful and honest with yourself. And a lot of people's whys are, or at least they come and say why they want to do something. It might not be truthful and honest. It might be something that they think folks want to hear. I want to do this because somebody else thinks I want it. That's what I should be saying. And that's where people get, unfortunately, in trouble because if you're not truthful with yourself, if you're not honest with why you want to do something, you're going to go off the rails. And you're going to get disappointed, not only in yourself, but you're going to think that you disappointed somebody else because you put your why out there as something that somebody you thought that's what they wanted to hear versus what you really want for yourself. So, your priorities, as Amanda was talking about earlier in the conversation, I was a person who put everything else first. And, but that's what you do as a father. You put everything else aside. And at some point you have to think to yourself, is it okay to put yourself first? Is it okay to put yourself first so that you can be better for yourself and then better for the others that are in your lives. And that's an okay thing. So if you think it's selfish, I use the ish there because it's not really selfish. It's improving yourself so that you can be better for yourself, um, which in turn makes you better for others. I will be quiet.
No, that was all great. And I love what you said. And I have an example of a client in my mind that his goal first was he just wanted to lose some weight. That's what he told me. He wanted to lose some weight. Come to find out, when I dug a little bit deeper, he has started with his wife. His wife was beautiful, very lean, loved to do these triathlons. He was doing them with her and never wanted to take his shirt off. He felt embarrassed. He felt, just he wasn't confident in himself. And I can tell you the shift that I saw when he dropped the weight and felt better about himself. It wasn't just about the weight. It wasn't just about the scale. She didn't even care one way or the other. But for him, the difference that I see with him in pictures now, smiling, feeling confident, he never has a shirt on in a picture anymore. Like, I just know that he's in a totally different space. So it's not the vain part. It's just he finally feels like the work that he's been doing and what he's been doing, it's like, now I'm proud of it and I'm proud of what I've done. And now I feel equal. Like before, he kind of didn't feel like he was up to par. So I definitely think that's life changing. And I know, I wanted to first start with Whitney before Megan. I'm going to give Megan something different. But Whitney, your reasons for changing, and you are at a point that your kids are very little. And, mommies at this point, when your kids are little, like your life is your kids. You absolutely, many of us, it's just our things go on the back burner because there's so many things to do. And by the time you finish, you're spent,
Yeah.
and, some of you like running, although there's no bear. I mean, but still, I think I know why you run now.
Yeah. And I will say, I mean, I don't run like I used to before I had kids because again, my why changed and everything about it changed. Like it used to be a way that I could go out, just work my body to the point where like I wasn't overthinking everything and just get out of my head for a little while. I can't do that with 2 kids anymore. I tried. And it's like you're out and it's just like, is there a car going to come at me on the sidewalk? But at the end of the day, I still have my whys and my whys are for them. And, kind of piggybacking on some of what David was saying about like it being selfish and taking time for like not being selfish because you are taking time for yourself. I like to look at it too, especially, with kids and really young kids, like they're watching everything that you do. And I don't want either of them to grow up, but especially my daughter, because women tend to put so much of that on themselves. I don't want my daughter to grow up and think that her main goal in life is to give everything of herself to everyone else. I want her to value herself. I want my son to value himself. I want them to prioritize themselves. And the way that they learn that best is by seeing me do that. And I don't spend all day just like self-caring it up, but I take an hour out of my day to go to the Y. And it's a non-negotiable. It's an important thing. And before that, I worked out in the backyard with them. So they have seen me do that. They have seen me take care in the way that I nourish my body and the foods that I eat, and we've talked about that fuel food versus fun food. And they're starting to understand, well, my son is, my daughter's, I mean, she's a baby, but he's starting to understand it and he's starting to ask questions and he's starting to understand that food will make him strong or help him to grow. And like he wants these things because there's his why. So, it's a little easier to get him to eat things that have protein or vegetables or fruits. And that's really important to me because I want them to take care of their health because that's really the most important thing that you've got. And my why when I was pregnant, I wanted to have an easier pregnancy than my mother had. She had horrible pregnancies, 3 C-sections. She got gestational diabetes, preeclampsia. I mean, it was everything that could go wrong. And I know that a lot of pregnancy is out of our control, but I was like, one thing that I can control is how I move my body and the food that I eat. And that was my why for that, and before then, it was completely different. Um, But I think it's just really important, to keep that in mind and to know that it is okay to prioritize yourself, and it's a great thing to show your kids. And another thing that I've heard from moms is like, I'd like to wait until they're a little bit older and things are a little bit easier. And
It doesn't get easier.
I
Newsflash.
yeah. And that's the thing is I'm learning it does not get easier. And the habits that you build whenever you can build them, like if you already have kids, it's not too late to start today. And you build those habits so that when they're older, those habits are already in place. You already know how to take care of yourself, because again, it just shifts. It doesn't get easier. It changes with each stage and maybe with each kid. Um, so I like to kind of do what I can with the unpredictability of it all. And I can predict that I'm going to give myself that time and I'm going to take care of what I put in my body for myself and for my family.
See, that's a great why, because I think the best gift that you can give to your kids above everything else is to teach them to love life. And you can teach them that by showing them how to get the most out of life. And that is doing the things. It's showing the discipline to do things. It's doing the things that keep yourself healthy. And that shows them that you respect yourself. And in return, they're going to respect themselves because they learned it from you. They're seeing you not eat a bunch of garbage all the time and sit on the couch and just and they're seeing that, and so they will replicate that, not because you told them to, because that's was embedded in them. So it's a great why.
Not just as a therapist, but I will say that most of the clients I work with who struggle with their behavioral patterns as adults, we can bring it back to the home in which they were raised.
Mhm.
So if we can reverse that and make the home in which they are raised more conscious of healthy habits and behaviors and role models, because what Whitney said is learned behavior is the number one way that children learn.
Yep.
And especially from their parents, because that's their go-to person, right? They're programmed for that, which is why you have newborn babies that can recognize their father's voices. They're literally programmed for that. So, when it comes to reversing stuff from the adult end, if we start it as children, maybe we won't have to get there.
Yep, it's true. Awesome. All great points. And my last kind of topic that I would love for Megan to talk about is the idea of discipline and consistency, right? So Megan, just so you guys have a little background, has been working with us. Megan has had a lot of things to juggle in her life, and she is getting ready. She just stepped on stage and she's getting ready to do it again. So, there have been so many things that most people would have said, you know what? I literally cannot.
She had more reasons to quit in the last 2 years, and it just did not even budge her. I'm like, I didn't even know what you're made of, Megan, but
And I'm and I'm
that's
sure
impressive.
like there was no motivation. There was, like she had every reason to kind of just say, forget it. I'm going to tap out on this one. I got too much going on. So, where was it between the discipline and the motivation? How did you balance that and be able to kind of still stay on point and find your way that you're still like macros on point, everything's on point, not missing a workout, anything, like literally a storm could happen and Megan will still be sitting there with her their food and at the gym. No, nothing, no deviations.
Yeah, I think well, a good analogy for all of this, I always think back to when you're on a flight and the flight attendants are going over all the things and they're like, okay, if you need the oxygen mask, make sure to put it on yourself first before you're going to put it on your kids, your spouse, like whoever you're traveling with, because if you can't help yourself, you can't help others. And that's what all of this kind of comes down to. I think for me with discipline, and someone touched on motivation too. The motivation is not going to be there every day. But when you build those habits and you just every day, it's one day at a time, you're being disciplined throughout that day. That's what builds the consistency, because the motivation will not be there every day. Going through some hard things. I think that was one of my major takeaways, is because I was a big part of being the healthiest I could be so that I could help my father. Um, and if I wasn't healthy, I couldn't help him. So I was trying to do, everything that I could do, like that's under my control. And that's where it comes down to that discipline piece. Um, and then, unfortunately, things didn't work out the way we wanted to. And it took a different hard road, right? Um, but in that hard road, I was healthy enough to be able to care for him through his last days, right? I was able to help pick him up, carry him to and from the bathroom, you know, um, care for him in every single way you can think of. And if I wasn't healthy and if I wasn't good myself, I wouldn't have been able to do those things. And, that's so special. Sorry, I'm getting emotional now. But yeah, so that was my why, during that time, because it may have shifted, right? Like during those hard times where I was, taking care of him and at the house, I might not have made it to the gym, but I found other ways to do something and be active. So, I've taken bands with me, places. So at least I can move my body in some sort. It might just be going, I need to get out and go for a walk for 20 or 30 minutes, just feel that sun on my skin, try to de-stress. It might be there were times where I didn't have anything and we had jugs of water. So here I have jugs of water and I'm like squatting with jugs of water, or I'm like, doing some bicep curls with jugs of water, but it's whatever you have. You can move your body and do something with whatever you have in front of you. It does not have to be you going to a gym and you've got these fancy equipment and what have you. Find a video on YouTube if you've got a TV. I mean, there's lots of things you can do. But it's about making non-negotiables, and just sticking to that, So I'm just going to apply it to, because we're talking about like health, work, and life. Health, it might be my non-negotiable is sleep. So I'm getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. So, when 9 o'clock comes around, okay, it's wound down time. I'm starting my nighttime routine. No if or buts, it's happening. If we look at like a work perspective, clear boundaries, I think, is a big one. So I know for you, like you guys, you do this full time, you and Calvin, and say your boundary is, 6 p.m. is my cutoff time. So I'm not answering emails after 6 p.m. because now that's my family time. That's my personal time. Work time is done. Life, just quality time with others, could be a big one. So that's a non-negotiable. I need that peer time or that personal time to recharge myself. And I think a big one too, and someone mentioned like time blocking. I think that's big, especially when you're a busy individual. I know some people who are like entrepreneurs, and this is, I think, big to make them be a little bit more successful is, you wouldn't, when you're setting up your day as an entrepreneur, you have a schedule. You have things you need to do throughout the day. You have times you need to be places, meetings, what have you. So I think you have to kind of apply the same things to this, to your health, to your wellness journey, to your personal time. Block out time still in your day that's going to allow you to be disciplined, to have the consistency. Because if not, being an entrepreneur is, I mean, it's always on. You're on like 24/7. So if you don't take that time to feed back into yourself, you're going to get lost and you're just going to go down the work and nothing's going to be placed on the personal, you know.
Agreed. It definitely has to have balance because what are you working for if you have nothing to look forward to? Like Calvin and I, we've talked about this multiple times, is that we love what we do, but it still is a portion of what we are. And we still have to have those moments that we can go and enjoy and not, be talking about hormones and menopause. It's a thing. So it is super important. And I do like what you were talking about with the discipline and, motivation won't always be there. But I also like the part that you were talking about that it doesn't always have to look 100% perfect. 100% perfect could still be perfect. It just may be a different type of workout. Or, well, I couldn't eat this. I was in a different spot, but I still made the effort and I still was intentional. So the intent and being consistent with intentions doesn't mean perfection. It just means that you are consistently trying to move in that direction.
That's the gray space. When we talk about black and white thinking, what Megan just said is the goal. That's living in the gray space, which is I can't get it done 100%, but I can get 80%. It might look kind of weird. I might be doing squats in my driveway with jugs of water, but is it going to fulfill that need? That's all you got to know.
I think, yeah, Megan, boy, I tell you what, I think you just nailed everything on that. Everything.
Wrapped it up
Besides,
with
I think you got us all a little bit choked up there for a second. So maybe you brought it back in, you know, and I appreciate you sharing that, by the way. So, but one of the things that I caught from that it was basically that you get going into this, what seems to be a challenge in the beginning, and you kind of teach yourself to kind of go through it and discipline yourself to do the things that takes to get there, to eat the foods, to weigh and do what you have to do that. But ironically, that turns into something that becomes a part of you. It becomes part of who you are. It's something that is solely yours, that you created in your world and you have to call your own. That's one of the things about bodybuilding and this type of stuff is it's your creation. Nobody else can take that away and money can't buy it. But the interesting thing about it is when you do get into that place, that ends up being the thing that holds you together when the shit's in the fan. That one thing that was a struggle before is the one thing that holds you together because that's your thing, that's your happy place. And I would have to say, I think probably part of that was for you is just to have that time to help keep you sane through all of it, and there's so many aspects to it that's the thing, but people have to kind of stick to it long enough and get over that hump to learn to love it, because it's what's on the other side is why you do that work. And it's not all about how you're going to look. It's not all about what you originally thought it was. It becomes its own thing that you created, and you find so many things that come from it. And I just think you just really laid that out just beautifully, so.
And I think it's the confidence. It's when you say that you're going to do something and you do it, and then it becomes that habit that you can feel proud, that it's something that you will always have control over. What you do and your intentions are what you control. And the other thing with training, right? I did not like training. But, I remember when Amanda started, the thing that got Amanda going when we would go to the gym is when things felt heavy everywhere. The gym is what allowed her to feel strong, that she knew that that was the place that a lot of these things will take us to our knees, right? A lot of things in life will be challenging and will throw you for a place that you literally tear up just thinking about it. But when you have something in your life that you know that you have done, you feel confident that you put in the time, you feel confident that you now acquired the skills, you feel confident that you said you were going to do something and you did it. And not only did you do it, but you keep setting these goals that are higher and higher. And if you keep setting goals that are higher and higher, you know that you are getting better and you are growing. And that is just really what makes each person complete and what really drives people to become, the best version of themselves.
When Brooke is talking about that part of my journey, I want to emphasize that was about 4 years after I had started losing the weight. And something that I tell my clients that I understand from my own perspective, having lost 100 pounds, I hated going to the gym and working out probably for the first 2.5, 3 years of my journey. It did not, now it's something that I have to do in order to feel like I've completed my day. It's a part of me. But I remember coming home from work and being like, I would do anything not to have to go stand on the treadmill right now.
Because you were doing treadmill and cycle bar.
No, even before when I was like 250 pounds. Do you know how miserable it is to work out when you're 250 pounds? It's not fun. You're huffing and puffing. You can't breathe. I had an inhaler. It was not an enjoyable experience. But if you look at me now, you're like, oh, it's easy for her to go to the gym. It was not always easy for me to go to the gym, but I had to stick with it long enough for it to become enjoyable. And that might take longer than you want it to, but that's part of the process.
Hey, Amanda, do you feel like for a lot of people coming into it, their reason for lack of motivation is just really comes down to just not trusting that they're going to follow through with it, that they're not going to do it. So they're like, why put in the effort, And then my thoughts on it, but because I know you're going to comment on that one for sure, is that they have to kind of, it's their opportunity to show that they can do it, and why coaching can be very important in this aspect, you know, because now it's somebody that can get you to that finish line, but you have to develop that trust in the coach first, and then trust in yourself after that.
Yeah, it's hard to motivate yourself when you have no history behind it. So when I first started, there was no reason for me to believe I could do any of this. My original goal was to lose 20 pounds. And when I hit the 20 pounds, I was like, maybe I can lose 50. And then I hit 50 and I was like, let's go for another 25. And then when I hit 75, I was like, we got to make it 100. Well, none of that was original in my intention. I just wanted to not have to shop in the plus size section. That was my only goal originally. I did not intend to become a bodybuilder. And people who know me from that life are like, how did this even happen? You know how it happened was I learned to believe in myself. And part of that was when I started working with Calvin. Calvin gave me a completely new plan that I was uncomfortable with, and I didn't know that it was counterintuitive to everything I knew, and I had to trust a little bit. And so it's that trust in someone who may know better than you, and acknowledging that you do not know best about this particular thing. So if your expertise is in education, that's your expertise, but this is their expertise. And with my clients, mine is what's going on in your head. That's my expertise. And you have to kind of trust that this may not feel right in the beginning. Most new things don't.
Yep.
And you just have to stick with them long enough. So what I tell people is give yourself a time frame, not a weight loss goal. So forget about losing 10 pounds. Give yourself 6 months. See what you can do in 6 months if you really put your head into it. And most of the time you'll find you probably lose about 20 pounds because, you surpassed that original goal.
David, you were going to say something?
No, it's okay.
Oh, okay. So I just love this. And I just want to bring up what was really cool. What I love about our team here is that you'll notice that each one of us has a story. Each one of us has had a totally different journey. Each one of us, the one thing that we do have in common is we have all gone through challenges. We have all gone through this process, and we are able to experience it, which allows us to be better coaches to our clients because we've had that experience, and we also have each other. So I like how we are also able to talk about our clients and how each one of us has a different perspective. So when the clients come to us, that we can work together as a team, and being able to, we have seen different clients ourselves, we have had experiences ourselves, and using that to be able to support clients as well. Because you're not always, these clients come to us and they don't, because they're coming to us because whatever they did before didn't work, or they never did anything, like Amanda said, and they have no reason. But when you can kind of show them and also share other things with other clients that have happened, and also showing them what is going on in their life and how you can support them better and how you're going to get them there, and giving them, you can't give like a guarantee, but if they put in the work and you are going to show them and work with them, I think it's really comforting for a lot of clients to know that they have that and it's a possibility. Because if they have their mindset like, I'm going to do it, you have to think of things that you've done in your life. There are certain things like, well, I'm just going to do it. Like I have to. There's no choice. And when you do it like that, what do they call it, Calvin? We were somewhere. It was like burn the boats.
Cut the ties and burn the boat.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to say, I'm going to just make it happen. So I just got to figure out how. If you have a coach and you have a plan and you're going to put in the effort, that's where you just go. And like Amanda said, coming up with that timeline, seeing what you're capable of. And because when you get there and you reach your first goal and you really followed through with it, that confidence is something that there is nothing else that can match that when you say you're going to do it and you follow through. I am going to go ahead and wrap this up here. I would like to thank everybody for joining us. And if you wouldn't mind sharing a review, it would mean the world to us. Just comment here. Also, if you have any suggestions or any ideas for other topics you'd like us to chat about, we appreciate everybody. And thanks so much. Till next time in our new episode. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Master Your Metabolism. If you found value in today's episode, it would mean the world to us if you'd hit subscribe and share this episode with someone who could use a little guidance in their health journey. Ready to take the next step? Head over to www.mastersfitnesscoaching.com and you can book a free call right from the site so we can chat about your goals and how we can help support you. Don't forget to join our Facebook group where we're sharing coaching tips, support, and tricks to help keep you on track and continue making progress. You don't have to do this alone. We're here to walk with you every step of the way. Until next time, stay consistent, stay kind to yourself, and keep mastering your metabolism. Let's do this together.